Hello friends, welcome back for part 6 of Oxygen Not Included Spaced Out full walkthrough. Last time we talked about entering the slime. I've been doing a little bit more kind of surgery on this area just to make it more functional, kind of get all my water stuck down into one place. I'll eventually drain this down into here, but I still want to keep pumping it into my tanks, of which are getting very full, so I've emptied 4 of them already. And I've also destroyed my oxygen diffusers, meaning that our only source of oxygen right now is this polluted water. Something I should mention too, and the reason I don't have like a polluted water pit or anything like that is because I want these bottles to just sit here. Look how much they're going to be gassing off, by the way. 191 grams a second will basically give enough duplicants to, two duplicants enough oxygen to live. Slightly less than that, but when you start adding up all these things, I can definitely support this kind of population with this many bottles. These will eventually drain because it is gassing off, like it's leaving the bottle and turning into air. So I will need to eventually refill it, but I can just rebuild the tanks, fill them back up again, and destroy it. You don't want to do it too much, because you will overpressurize your base if you have too many of these. Just kind of keep an eye on your air pressure and make sure that it's hovering around like 1500 grams per tile. If you can keep it around that, then that's good. So yeah, another way you can tell is if you're in like the teal, that means you have good oxygen saturation on this view. So yeah. All right, let's talk about a couple things that I mentioned that we were going to talk about in this video. Let's turn this into a great hall. I did mention I was going to do that last time and totally forgot, so let's do it now. All we need to do to convert this into a great hall, obviously it needs to be big enough for a great hall. And it needs to have a couple of the right buildings, one of which is going to be a decor item. And all you need to do for that is add a flower pot and a briar seed. Or any type of plant in here will be fine. Now this room has been turned into a great hall, which is going to offer a lot more morale for your duplicants. And this is going to start being relevant because your duplicants are going to start basically requiring a better place to live as you're asking them to specialize in more and more things. Let's also kind of deal with this room too. I've been avoiding it a little bit, only because we don't necessarily need to do this right now, but I might as well talk about it right now. I was mentioning find an area to retain all of your natural plants. I'm going to pick this side, meaning that this side of the natural plants isn't really going to matter. All I need it for is just one nature reserve. That's also going to be an additional +6. And I'm just going to put it right here because we're going to create a little bit of a loop for our duplicants to go in order to get into our Great Hall so that we assure that they go through both places in order to get there. So this door, I'm going to not let my duplicants use anymore. I'm just going to close it off like this, or I guess we could just lock it, whatever. Effectively make that a wall. I'm going to put a ladder down here. And I will dig this one up because it's too far away from where our nature reserve is going to be. But I'm just going to close off this room a little bit more. We will make it a little bit bigger when we have more duplicants. And yeah, so let's create our nature reserve. I'm going to need a door here, so I'm going to get rid of one of these plants. But I'm going to retain the rest of them in this small area. Our nature reserve needs to be at least 32 tiles. So that's going to be this size. So now that I know where the door needs to go in order to meet that requirement, we might as well just be safe and keep a couple of extra ones in here just in case we accidentally dig them up. So, whoops, wrong door. You will want to not remove any of these natural tiles that the plants are growing in. That's definitely going to cause a problem. But I'll just keep a few extra tiles of space just for funsies and just to make sure that we're good with that. Any of your doors that you have, you can keep them open unless they're meant to keep critters inside. And we're going to drop a park sign in here, which is going to turn it into a nature reserve. So as soon as someone builds that, that'll be another room that my duplicants get +6 for going through. But the way we're going to make them go through it every day is going to be a little bit different. We're going to change the direction of these doors so that they're not allowed to go left through them. So the path that I want them to take when it's time for them to eat is I want them to travel through the nature reserve to get the bonus. I want them to climb up this ladder. Then I want them to go left into this room so I can prevent them from going the opposite way. And same here. I want them to eat and then leave out this door. So that's going to be kind of the small loop that we have to keep our duplicant morale up while we continue to specialize them in other things. These duplicates are stuck for right now, so I'll fix those doors here in just a little bit. The other thing that I wanted to do, let me delete this other one, this other reservoir of water. The other thing I wanted to do was to set up some plumb bathrooms, so let's do that really quick. By the way, I really don't care that much about having sinks in these, but it seems to bother everyone a lot, so I'm just going to add sinks this time. Fine, you win. I'm giving in. I'm just going to add, looks like we don't really have enough space for everything quite yet. Just going to add 3 toilets, and this is only going to be useful, or rather, this is all I'm going to really need, because I should be distributing my duplicants pretty evenly between all my different schedules. Looks like we're pretty close as we are. There we go. Now we're all even. And fine. Fine, I'll add sinks. Okay, gosh. So I'm going to add some sinks here. We'll just set up a bathroom that looks something like this. We also are going to need a way to clean the water that comes out of it, so I'm going to get a water sieve. And because we don't really have anywhere to store any of our extra water, I'm just going to send this line back into the same line that feeds all of my plants and stuff. So, just something like that. The water that comes into my sinks and my toilets, it's totally fine if that water is germy, which is why I don't mind sending it back into the same lines. It is a little bit counterintuitive, but you can have your duplicants wash their hands with germy water. As long as they're not drinking it, there's no problem with having germy water. So you can just kind of, I guess, ignore that, which doesn't feel great. I would really rather that it did matter a little bit more, but if I just make it so that they don't drink it and that I'm not directly making any food with that germy water, then there's no downside to doing it. So yeah, bathroom is just going to look something like this. Just need the outputs to run straight into my sieve, and then my sieve is just going to be connected back up to the same line where my blossoms and other things are going to be using that water. Oh, I guess the toilets too. We can also make sure that they only wash their hands when they leave, rather than when they enter and leave, just to save ourselves a little bit of time. So yeah, there's a basic bathroom for you. And you're going to get another small morale bonus for having that. This also means that we can get rid of our outhouses. So let's get rid of those. Okay, so we've got a whole bunch of extra things that are going to be giving our duplicants more morale. That's going to be very handy for later in the game, and also I tend to like to talk about things before you really need them. So if you're doing this early, it's like we're going to be way higher than the actual demands of our duplicants right now. But I don't know, it doesn't take that long to do. We might as well just do it now. I'm also going to just replace this floor with a tile floor. And we need to block off access to this so that they only go in one direction. So here you go. When they go through, if they were going to eat, someone's going to come and eat here any second now, I'm sure of it. Here we go. Ari's hungry. Nail's hungry. Gonna grab food. Oh, how did you get through that door? You're not allowed through here. What is going on? Maybe they planned the route before it was ever up. That was so strange. Anyway, what's supposed to happen is, yeah, thank you, Ari, for following the rules, is they're supposed to go all the way around, which will give them the bonus from the Nature Reserve and then the bonus from the Great Hall. So they should be very happy by now. Let's talk about another thing that I wanted to mention, which is entering this ice biome. And I'm looking at my time on this video. We might have to just chain 2 videos together, which is always a little bit awkward, but we'll do that. I want to start entering these ice biomes, mainly because over time these will start to melt a little bit, especially as you get more and more of these cool slush geyser and the cool salt slush geysers erupting, because this water is colder than the ice that's in here. But I want to preserve this ice biome as much as possible because this food is really good. And I want to use it as much as I can, at least with the natural tiles. So let's start to crack into one of these things. And I'll talk about how to preserve it. So I'm just going to grab an insulated tile here, which I have gotten the research for, by the way. So that's probably one of the next things you're going to want to get, which is somewhere here. Here we go. Just grab these insulated tiles. So insulated tiles, I'm just going to kind of build it out something like this. I don't want to go wild in here. I want to preserve as much as possible. And I want to keep the abyssalite as much as I can because the abyssalite is going to be nice for keeping the temperature of a certain biome to itself and not share it with anything around it. We could crack into both of these, actually. Do I want to do that right now? This one, cracking into this one's going to be weird, because we don't have a great angle on it. Let's do this. This is not going to be my favorite way of doing it, but I'm just going to build a ladder up here. Do something like that. There. So, I want to get in there, and I want to get access to this sleet wheat, but I also kind of like want to save it. I don't want the tiles that the sleet wheat is in to melt before I get a chance to use it. So I'm going to start just cracking in here like this. Once I get inside, I'm going to be kind of delicate. I'm not going to go crazy about mining all this out. Just going to be a little delicate to get access to all this sleet wheat. I also am going to want to dig up to the top of this biome. So that we can get more ice in here to keep this thing more cool. And also as we get ice and stuff from out here, we can just have it drop into these biomes that'll help preserve it. So kind of a twofold bonus that we're going to get here. Really want to make sure we preserve this sleet wheat as much as possible. So if it starts to flood or if it gets buried like this, you want to dig it out. Make sure that when you dig out the snow or whatever might fall on it, that you cancel the uproot on the actual sleet wheat itself. But yeah, I want to mark these for harvest. And now that I am marking them for harvest, I want to build a different food creation machine. I don't even know what you would call that generally, but I want to build a micro musher. That's because the food type that we're going to be making from this is going to be berry sludge. Berry sludge, I've become convinced, is by far the best food in the game, and it's really not close. Only because it will never go bad, and it's a good, well, decent quality. So I'm just going to make berry sludge forever. I'm going to turn up the priority on this so that I make berry sludge over making gristle berries. I also want to make sure that I'm not wasting my sleet wheat on frost buns or anything like that. So berry sludge is definitely super duper strong, and I want to get that as much as possible, and my means of acquiring sleet wheat is just going to be by using the natural tiles that are here. That's fine. Or sorry, the natural sleet wheat that's here, not the tiles. But yeah, just be careful when you're mining out in here that you don't overdo it and accidentally dig something up that you don't mean to. So we're going to be cracking into both of these biomes. Once I create ladders that go all the way up to the top here, we'll talk about what we're going to do out in this area a little bit more. And then we'll call that good for this video. We're kind of getting a lot done. It's going a little bit faster than I expected. So yeah, we'll kind of fast forward and I'll get these all ready to go. Alright, we've reached the top. We've reached the top on one side. Not reached. I don't even know what that means. Reached the top on one of our ice biomes. So I'm going to start digging through the abyssalite here and out into the space biome. This is going to be on purpose for two reasons. One is I really want all the very cold material to fall down as I mine and just land somewhere in here, just to help keep this area cool as much as I can. But two, we're going to need to get out to the surface anyway, just so that we can set up our ventilation, which will probably be the next video. We need to eventually start dealing with all this stuff. So much stuff down here on the floor. So yeah, nothing too scientific about mining through this. It's really just continuing to mine upward until you can hit the top. I'd ideally like to get there on both sides, just so I can get a lot of material in here. Only because I'm worried about this stuff melting, and especially as my duplicants spend more time in here, they'll heat it up with their annoying warm bodies. But yeah, so I'll just kind of skip forward again, just until we start hitting the surface and have more debris falling down. So yeah, we'll get to it then. Alright, we're not quite to the top, or at least we haven't breached it yet, but we're pretty close. Either way, I think we can get the point of what I'm trying to get across here. So I'm just going to leave a small gap kind of towards the top of the abyssalite of the ice biome and just put a door here. And this will be how we will mine all this stuff out and then eventually drop all the resources down inside here to keep this area nice and cool. You'll notice all the stuff that has fallen in here is very low temperature, so like -6°C. Whereas the stuff in here can start to get down into the lower 20s and teens and stuff like that. And we don't want it to fall that low because that's when everything starts to melt. So yeah, it shouldn't be too big of a deal. But yeah, just going to put a door on both sides. And then I will hook it up to a signal switch that I can flip back and forth depending on if there's debris on there or not that I want. So yeah, we'll just do something like this, and that'll kind of close out this video, I think. The next one, we're going to be paying attention to our ventilation, which is part of the reason why we created this channel up here, so that we can send all the gases out to space that we don't really want. But we'll get that set up here pretty soon, as soon as they as soon as they finish digging all this stuff out and getting this stuff set up. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll be back with the next part really soon. Okay, bye.